10,
9,
8,
7, 6,
4,
row down.
I mean 3,
2,
and 1. Just like me, the #1 kaiju in this household.
Listen up, Rangers! Welcome to the Geek Chest. My name's Steve, and today, since our Nest put out his top 10 list of Predators, I figured I'd put one out for myself, which what this is going to be is my top 10 figures that got me into collecting certain things. Now, I collect a lot of stuff. I collect a lot of variety of stuff. I was kind of tossing around some ideas for this list because there was like, I do like top 10 things of why the heck do I even own these things? We've done like the most obscure ones before, but I mean like things. For instance, this guy here, my Vern figure, or Ernest, if you will, or even like G.I. Joe Hicks, which doesn't have any other figures to go along with them, stuff like that. But I wanted to showcase, as Ernest tries to take a tumble after just mentioning that, of things that really got me into buying specific items and kind of expanding on that. So for the most part, like these items definitely started collections. Which speaking of, for number 10, kind of give you an idea. And the reason why it's so low on the list is because it's not really something I collect, but because I'm married to her, we still collect it. I still fork over money in order to help her buy these things. And there's a reason, because I do love the original Jurassic Park, the Red Rex, from the original Jurassic Park toy line, and was one of the first ones I had when I was a kid. I had this, I had the compound, I had some of the humans, I had the Raptor, the Dilophosaurus, the Dimetrodon, there was a few, and would play with them to death. Now, Dimetrodon is probably still my favorite, but I think this is the one that was the most like eye-catching figure for me when I was younger, because you see this, you see it's like, it's the T-Rex from the movie, right? Looks good. And my love and appreciation for this, I always really liked the line, I like the toys, but growing up, especially when I started collecting back up, and even beforehand, this kind of waned on me because it was hard to find the figures. They got kind of expensive, there wasn't anything really like new, and like the older the line got, the less good they also looked to me. So I never really got back into it until hooking up with my wife, and then we slowly started picking these back up, and now it's rivals my kaiju collection. Like, to be honest, I think in terms of dinosaur figures, I probably have more dinosaur stuff than I do like Godzilla and Ultraman and what have you. It's disgusting. Granted, a lot of it's fairly cheap, and she picked up at like Facebook swaps and stuff, but there's a lot. There's like bins of just dinosaurs. But in terms of Jurassic Park collectibles, still pretty darn close, if not actually maybe more. So for number 9, this is a collection that has definitely jumped up and down for me. I've sold them multiple times. Like, I've given my original collection away to my little brother, and then I started buying them again, ended up selling them because I kind of needed space at the time, and now I'm back to kind of collecting them, which is the Star Wars figures. Specifically, a lot of what I got is the Black Series ones, and even more specifically is Mandalorian. When the show came out, and even before the show came out, this one in particular was the white box one. So I bought this in anticipation for the show, and mainly I bought this because I was gonna sell it. It's one of the old few times where I seen one in store, and I'm like, he goes for quite a bit of money. I'm just gonna snag it, sit on for a minute. When the show comes out, I will put them up for sale. And then I ended up keeping it and opening it. Still have the box, but he hangs out on my shelf. And then this kind of spawned the rest of my Star Wars collecting for the most part, at least for what it is. It's definitely not the things I have the most of in my collection, but there is quite a bit of it, because I can just look over here and see it right now. With the Black Series, I have literally everybody for the show. I got extra characters that showed up in the show, or like stormtroopers that were maybe in some of the other lines, picked those up. Got a few of my more favorite characters, which then got me back into collecting the 12-inch like G.I. Joe style ones that kind of match the Kenner Alien. And even like my Giant Rancor I just kind of bought because I thought he was cool. This guy helped with that. For number 8, we have the Optimus Prime. This one specifically is from the War for Cybertron video game. I forget the official line he was in. was more like a Generations line. It was back when that was more of a thing. Which I liked the video games, and at the time I was collecting more video game toys. Like I had the McFarlane Halo stuff, which I ended up selling, and a few other ones you might see later on in the list. So I bought this because I liked the game, and still one of my more favorite Transformers I have in my collection. And was just really impressed with this. Got the Bumblebee, which wasn't as impressed with, but was still cool. And then found out that they're going to be making more, so I started buying those. And then I was like, okay, well, I'll just buy the games. So cut my Transformer collection of that. But then Transformers Prime came out. Really loved the show. Started buying those. And then the Masterpieces started popping up at Toys R Us. And it got out of control after that. And then started getting some G1s, which I was never even into, but I thought they were cool. And got quite a few of those now. And I can thank this guy for eating up quite a bit of my savings. So for number 7, what I have here is the SSH Figure Arts Blue Beats. This guy was a web exclusive, a fairly hard figure to get a hold of. And what this guy spawned initially was me buying import, like Sentai-ish figures, or just the import figure version, the import versions of shows I loved as a kid. For instance, this guy is from Big Bad Beetleborgs. Bought this one. I ended up getting the rest of the series at G-Fest. Was able to pick up the rest of the characters. And then I liked him, but they looked kind of lonely on the shelf. So then I started trying to hunt down the Kamen Rider Black figures, the Black and the RX, because of Mask Rider from Stateside. And then that got me into buying the Gridman figure from Superhuman. God, what else do I got upstairs? There's the Akiba Rangers hanging out on the same shelf, and they actually hang out in my living room with the other giant monster figures. And I just love this figure to the death, and it just kind of helped me get into more, I don't want to say obscure Japanese collectibles, but for me anyways, because for the most part, I mainly just stuck with just giant monster stuff in general when I was doing my import stuff, and especially with the kaiju items. So, yeah, kind of up the taste a little bit in terms of what I was collecting, because number 6, this guy's what got me into collecting Power Rangers again, or at least was like the turning point for me. I would say, if you guys can see it right there, but there's the Legacy Collection Megazords. I think those is, like, I saw the Megazord, I kind of bought it as a whim. I think, if I remember right, we were on our wedding? We're on our honeymoon. I came across that at a toy shop. Because we were like, where we were at, we were like, hey, let's go check out the Toys R Us. And it was just hanging out in there. I'm like, you know what? Sure. I like the Megazord. I had it when I was a kid. Thought it was cool. I wanted to get it. And then these guys started coming out. And then we started getting like super articulated Power Ranger stuff. Stateside. So I picked this guy up, thought he was cool. He's very muscular, but still pretty neat. He was actually going to be on the list of why do I still own these things, but just because I always thought it was a really cool Ranger. Still got this one in the box. And then that kind of amassed into all the rest of this back here. Because then started buying more of the Legacy stuff. Then we got the Legacy ones, which I was going to buy. I started buying some of the Figure Arts ones, but I ended up selling those. Especially when the Lightning Collection started becoming more of a thing. Actually, I sold them when they came out, and then they stopped those and started doing, when they got sold to Hasbro, they started doing these, and then that just spawned into even more Ranger stuff, and then started slowly, from those, collecting some of the older Ranger toys into getting my Superhumans and all the other fun stuff. I'd say number 5 and number 4, I think should be in reverse order, but I want to go with the timeline that was presented with the Kyoto's Evangelion figure. This is probably the dude that got me into collecting anime stuff, which spawned into a lot of more anime stuff, if you guys know the channels very well. He was also one of the catalysts into me starting buying online, because I found this guy at a shop, thought he was really cool. After some research, found out there's actually quite a few more of them that I had to beg my mom to try to get them on eBay. I had to pay for them, mind you, but she had the eBay account, so, and the credit card. So from there, it got me into getting the rest of the Evangelions, and then also just hunting for anime figures in general, because in Michigan, especially at the time, there wasn't that many places in the near vicinity that even had these things. Like, this guy, I had to drive probably about a good hour and a half in order to check out the store and see if they had these. Because that was about it. There wasn't anything... Because I live in Michigan, I'm more in the thumb region. And absolutely nothing. And this guy started the big old hunt. And especially after just breaking up with my ex recently, too. He, be honest, is probably one of the reasons why I really got back into collecting just in general. Because even at the time, I wasn't really buying figures anymore because she thought they were creepy, so I kind of gave up on them for a while. And even just in high school, girls didn't really like that. So I kind of kept off of it a bit. But he kind of sparked that all back up for me. Which, moving on to number 4, because, again, mentioning the Evangelion kind of got me back into just more or less collecting, slowly but surely, and they got me into wanting to buy anime stuff. I would say this, which oddly enough, is the Figma Madoka from Puella Magi Madoka Magica, is what really got me into scouring import sites in order to get collectibles. Because at the time, I was buying stuff. Not even sure why I was going to show it. You'll see them later. But I was, a lot of my, even like my anime stuff, I was buying stateside because there's like the Guyver we reviewed before this one. There was the Kill la Kill figures. All that I was still acquiring stateside. And then slowly started finding out about like import sites and was a little bit scared to order the stuff because I wasn't sure how it was going to go. And so I didn't want to spend a lot of money. And still getting things, because especially with reviews, I wanted to get stuff sooner. But this is probably one of the ones I easily remember checking out on AmiYami, finding out how inexpensive these were to get a hold of at the time. Because I don't even think I paid $30 for this, because it was pre-owned, which is a big thing for Steve for a long time, still is scouring a lot of anime sites and just import sites in general that especially sell pre-owned items and finding things for shows that I like that weren't that expensive, but I still really enjoyed. Like, I love the Figmas, especially having those ones to begin with, made it way more easier for me to want to pick this up, and especially at the price, because I was spending like $60 on like Guyvers and Kill la Kill ones, and like 30. Fucking sign me up. Like, some of them I got it for even like $20. Like, it got insane for a bit. Now they've gone up since then. But she got me into definitely broadening my horizons in terms of collecting, getting it like not just relying stateside in order to get a hold of stuff, and just pretty much spam buying stuff, if I'm going to be honest. So for number 3, probably one of the most important figures in my collection is the Dead Space Isaac Clarke from NECA. This guy is probably the one that really got me into buying video game figures, because I wasn't really I think it was mainly the Halo stuff, and then this guy came out and I was like, oh, I never bought a NECA figure. I'd grab it, pick it up, and I was so blown away with this thing that I started just at that point just kind of buying everything that was NECA, and I just remotely enjoyed, because I had the Resident Evil toys back in the day. The rest of the Dead Space, I was buying the Gears of War stuff, and then I ended up selling a lot of those. But then because I really liked these, I was like, you know what? I've seen these Predator and Alien ones. I like Predator and Alien. Let's try getting those. And then that entire corner of my office came from that. And then if it wasn't for me buying this guy in particular, maybe eventually I would have gotten into it, because with them making the Godzilla stuff, I probably would have bought that no matter what. But from this spawned into me even wanting to reach out to them in order to do reviews, and having them actually send us review samples, because I just love their stuff so much. Now, granted, sometimes it's debatably good and bad, some of the stuff they put out, but in general, it's easily still one of my favorite companies. And this guy helped me get into the door with, I don't want to say with them, but into just appreciating them. Number 2, and I would say probably the most important thing for Steve nowadays, which is the SSH Monster Godzilla 1994. The original one which has a loose head. This one came with the beam. I would before this, I would say Biolante, but my wife got me that one. And then I bought this one because I was like, you know what? The Biolante, it needs a companion piece. We'll get this one to go along with it. But I was hesitant because they were very expensive at the time. It's quite a bit of money. It's easily the most I ever spent on an action figure at the time. Especially for something this size. But I was like, well, it's Godzilla. You don't see a lot of Godzilla stuff. It's Japanese, so I get why it's a little more expensive. Plus, it's supposed to be fully posable, right? This is going to be kind of cool. And then I get it in, and it was like, this is the best thing ever. Like, everything moves. It looks like Godzilla. Like, it's the most Godzilla-looking Godzilla I've ever gotten. Because at the time, I was pretty much just buying Bandai vinyls. And at the time, I didn't even know I still had my Godzilla stuff. Like, I thought my mom got rid of it all. Because she didn't know where it went. And I ended up finding out that it was in the back of a van. Handing out in their driveway. So, that was fun. It's also why I don't keep tags on things anymore. It's also kind of the reason why I don't collect Pokemon anymore. Well, at least the cards. But this guy got me back into wanting to buy Godzilla stuff. And then from here, I started like getting more of the monster arts. I was like, well, what else do they make? So I started getting some more of the vinyls. Found out X Plus was a thing. And then this guy I could solely blame for me being okay with spending more money than $20 on a figure. Because like I wouldn't even think, because there's like definitely things I've spent way more money on. The most being, I still think that Evangelion Godzilla is probably the one that tops the most expensive thing I've bought for my collection. But he helped with making that more better for me in the long run. Maybe I shouldn't have bought you. I probably would have paid off this house by now. And then number one, which probably is a surprise to you guys, especially if you guys watch a lot of the videos around here, but we have my original Godzilla figure that I got when I was 4, which is the Imperial Godzilla, the large 12-inch one, which is honestly, for me, it's probably my most vivid like Christmas opening is getting this guy opening up and just being like, it was like, at the time it's like half my size. He's so big, he's cool, he's scary looking, he's got blood on his teeth, what? And then, like, after that, the other Christmases were quite the same. It's like not even that great of a figure, right? He just kind of like, it can move. Yay. But I remember, like, this guy, he played with the Power Ranger stuff, he played with a lot of other things. But I think this guy is why I've always loved just toys and action figures in general. It's just because how impressed I was with this. And I think a lot of this just has to do with my demographic for the most part, because growing up, like, is when video games started to be a thing. But I still remember, like, going to the toy store, and we didn't even have to buy anything. Like, I just enjoyed going to the toy store and just seeing what was new. Like, on the way home, like, on the way to our house, there was a Toys R Us, and I always begged my parents to swing in just so I can go in, and again, maybe not get nothing, but I just wanted to go see just what was there, because it was like, you didn't have the internet, we didn't really get catalogs. So it was the only way for me to find out, like, what's new, and then maybe beg my parents to try to buy something. But I don't think a lot of that probably would have stuck around, because for the most part, I probably would be collecting video games or something like that, because I played a lot of games when I was younger. But I always just really loved the idea of taking things that I've seen on TV and on shows, which is also why a lot of the stuff I collect was a cartoon or a movie at some point. Is taking the characters I liked and almost doing like Super Smash Brothers and having them like conflict with each other, and just being able to just go like crazy with my imagination. And this guy, through the test of time, has made it to when I kind of stopped playing with toys. Well, played in the sense of just taking figures and smashing them together. Growing up, I've definitely gotten better figures, and probably more impressive ones, to be fair. But the image that I have of just 4-year-old Steve opening this guy, I just be mind blown with just how cool something like this can be. Which, well, at the time I would have been 1990. That always kind of resonated with me, and one of the reasons why, like, I wasn't playing with him, like, he would be kind of just displayed on my shelf, and then slowly just started displaying more of my stuff with him. Because even a lot of time, even when I wasn't playing with them as a kid, I was still doing what I'm doing now, where they were just kind of like hanging on my shelves, and then I'd get them down if I want to mess with them. My toy box wasn't really that full. Like, almost all my toys kind of just hung out like they do nowadays. And again, a lot of that I think harkens back to this guy, because he was just always so cool to me, especially growing up, that I wanted to always look at him and appreciate him and still get him out and mess with him all once in a while. And I can thank this guy for the reason why probably the things inside my house are worth more than my house. But anyways, what is your guys' favorite figures? What figures got you guys into collecting? Let me know in the comments section below. And help us defeat those kaijus by hitting the like button, subscribe, become a ranger today. We also got Instagram, Patreon, Pinterest, Facebook. Guys, like keep up to date with the channel and donate. We greatly appreciate it. See you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.